All right, I think we're ready to begin. Thanks everybody for joining us here today. My name is Haider Alabin. I'm the program director for our Techstars Industries of the Future Accelerator. Very excited to have two very esteemed folks with me today. My colleague, Tricia Martinez. She is the managing director for our Techstars Industries of the Future program. And I have Eileen Chant with us as well. Eileen comes from us from the Department of Energy. She's the outreach program manager at the Office of SBIR and STTR programs. She has over 25 years working as a mechanical engineer in a diverse range of energy technology areas, from startup assistance, commercial and industrial equipment consulting, and nonprofit industry associations. She also received her PhD from Georgia Tech in mechanical engineering. Couldn't be more excited to have somebody like her for this AMA today, focused on navigating SBIR funding. I'm about to hand over the mic to my colleague Tricia, but just before that, just a quick reminder for everyone, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to ask a question at the bottom of the screen or throw it in the comment section if you're on LinkedIn or YouTube. Or if you have a company you think would be great for our program as you learn more, feel free to send a link or a LinkedIn link. We're happy to look at anybody that would be a good fit. So with that, Tricia, take it away.
Awesome, thanks. Also, everyone, thanks so much for joining. We have really good turnout. Feel free in the chat to say where you're calling in from, where your company is, whatever you feel like sharing with us today. And feel free to start throwing some questions in the Ask a Question feature. Also, Eileen, I didn't know your full background. Insanely impressive. Jeez, pretty amazing. I'm glad that DOE SBIR has some incredible people working for our country. So thank you.
Thank you.
Haider, do you want to throw up the deck and we can start? I'll start by giving a background to all of you about the Industries of the Future program, and then I'll hand it over to Eileen, who will share more details about SBIR, STTR, how to navigate the space if you have not applied, what that looks like, and how you can start working with potentially the Department of Energy. So as Haider mentioned, my name is Tricia Martinez. I'm the managing director for Techstars' newest accelerator called Industries of the Future. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've spent most of my career in the fintech and blockchain space. I actually went through a Techstars program, so I am an alum, and I tell people that it's honestly was the best 3 months of my life. I participated in the Barclays program in London, and after that, I ended up moving out to sub-Saharan Africa, where I spent 6 years building and scaling my startup. Once I exited my company, I moved over to the Department of Energy, where I served as a White House Presidential Innovation Fellow. And I had the privilege of working with our 17 national laboratories on areas of commercialization, as well as AI and climate change initiatives. So we can go to the next slide. I wanted to share a little bit about the program. So the Industries of the Future Accelerator is honestly a program for startups who are building novel breakthrough technologies that can change the world. We're looking for founders, technologists, scientists who are unbelievably passionate about building and solving really large problems. So some background on our 3 program partners, because that's really what sets our program aside from any of the other Techstars programs. Oak Ridge National Lab is the largest science and energy national lab in the Department of Energy system, with the world's top supercomputers. Its scientific programs focus on materials, neutron science, energy, high-performance computing, systems biology, and national security. Secondly, we have the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a federally owned electric utility corporation with service areas that cover all of Tennessee and parts of Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia. It's the 6th largest power supplier and the largest public utility in the country. And last but not least, our third partner is the University of Tennessee, which is a public research university. The UT system has 10 undergraduate colleges and 11 graduate colleges, which hosts more than 30,000 students from across the US and more than 100 foreign countries. And the next slide, please. So what's really exciting about this program is that Techstars generally looks at software-enabled startups, but the Industries of the Future program is very much focused on deep tech. So when we say deep tech, we're talking about hardware, within the stack, very deep level science-driven questions. So we're talking about technology in the areas of artificial intelligence, quantum information sciences, clean technology, biotechnology, advanced manufacturing and robotics, 5G, IoT. If you're building things from robotics, process automation, to sensors, to drug discovery, to electric vehicles, carbon capture, whatever those areas are, we want to speak with you. So you are in the right place. And then before I close out, and pass it over to Eileen, I just wanted to highlight some key dates and details for all of you. Our program applications are now open and will close on October 6th. So we have a little bit of time, but make sure to at least start your application now if you have not already. The program will run live as of now in person in Knoxville, Tennessee from January 26th through April 21st. A lot of people have been asking about whether it will be hybrid or in person. Obviously, given the COVID circumstances, we will play it by ear as we get closer to the launch date. However, my priority is that all companies are in person because it is an invaluable experience to be in the national lab, to have access to those partners, especially when you are building hardware technology. But of course, your health and safety is our top priority. If you are interested in connecting, please make sure to sign up for office hours, and Heider can share a link in the chat. Just sign up and you'll talk to one of us and we can learn more about what you're building if you have not connected with us already. And as I mentioned before, if you're interested in the program, please reach out as soon as possible. So sign up for office hours, ping us. We want to talk to as many companies as possible. If you want to wait to apply to the last minute, you can do that, but it's in your own interest to speak with us as early as possible so we can get to know you, learn what you're building, see what you've already accomplished, and support you in those areas. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Eileen so that she can jump in and share with you more details on SBIR, STTR, the fun process of navigating the space, and she's here to answer any and all of your questions.
Okay, thank you, Trish. Can everybody see my screen?
Looks good.
Yeah, and Trish, your background is very impressive too. I'd love to hear more about your startup experience in sub-Saharan Africa. It sounds like a very interesting project. So thank you everybody for having me. Thanks to Techstars and for all the attendees. I'm really happy to speak to you about the DOE, SBIR, STTR programs and the opportunities for grants that exist within our program. For those of you who are just dipping your toe into the world of SBIR and STTR programs, there are a number of government agencies. There are 11 government agencies that offer SBIR programs. The program is a set aside in excess of $3.5 billion per year. And the focus of the program is early stage, non-dilutive R&D funding for small businesses. So these are funds for your early stage innovation ideas that have the potential to make a big impact in your technology area. Additionally, these are ideas that are typically too high risk and early stage for the private sector. So that is the space that the SBIR STTR program is operating in, those early stage ideas where you really don't have a lot of opportunities for funding. As I mentioned before, there are 11 SBIR, STTR, there's 11 SBIR agencies, programs. They are listed here on this slide. The Department of Defense is by large, has the biggest SBIR program. We are the third largest program. The top 5 programs have STTR programs as well, and the remaining smaller agencies only have SBIR programs. And I'll go into what the distinctions are between those two. Our programs are not competing with each other. Each program is a little bit different. And if you don't find a good opportunity with the Department of Energy, I encourage you to go to these other agencies and see if there's potentially a good fit for you. I'll mention as an example that the NSF program does not have specific topics like the DOE. So if you have a good idea, you can pitch your idea to them, and if they like it, they will say, invite you to submit a proposal. So don't stop at DOE funding if you don't find a good match for your R&D. And you should be aware of the distinctions between SBIR and STTR as you're working through the program and deciding where you're going to, apply. So the SBIR program has been around for almost 40 years. It does allow you to team and partner with a nonprofit research institution, such as a national lab or a university. And the principal investigator must be the employee of the small business. Now, the STTR program is a little bit different in that it requires a nonprofit research institution partner. So you have to team with an RI for the STTR program. And the PI can be either an employee of the small business or the research institution. In both cases, the awardee of the grant is the small business, though I will mention that. And note that if you fill the requirements of SBIR and STTR, you can submit your identical application to both programs by checking the boxes as you go through the submission process. They are two pots of funding. So if you do fulfill the requirements of both, you should consider submitting the application of both programs because it essentially doubles your chances of receiving an award. There are funding requirement distinctions between the two programs. And for example, assuming that this crowd is mostly interested in phase one, submitting a phase one application, I'll just go over that. For the SBIR program, the small business must conduct 2/3 of the research and development effort, with the remainder 1/3 kind of up for grabs between the small business, some type of research institution, or some other subcontractor or consultant. For STTR, the small business must conduct a minimum of 40% of the research and development, and the research institution must conduct a minimum of 30% of the research and development, with the remainder of the 30% up for grabs as well. And you must fulfill those requirements. So it's very important that you do check that you're fulfilling those requirements before you submit your application. If you don't fulfill a number of the basic requirements, unfortunately, your application will be declined for administrative reasons. Right now, we're in the middle of releasing our fiscal year 2022 phase one funding opportunity announcements. We have 2 releases a year, release 1 and release 2. Release 1 has opened. It opened in July, and the letters of intent were due on Monday of this week. So I believe it's safe to assume that most of you all are learning about the SBIR program and potentially going to be interested in the Release 2 topics, which come out on November 8th. We have different offices release topics. From Release 1, we have these 4 offices, which are sort of more aligned with basic engineering and energy sciences, such as advanced computing, making computers faster, more efficient, more reliable. We have topics in basic energy science, environmental monitoring, as well as nuclear physics. In November, we have these 9 offices which submit topics, and these are a mix of really a lot of very applied topics in the and also some fundamental topics, such as the ones that come out of fusion energy sciences and high energy physics. I'll go into a little bit more about our topics going forward. This page, this funding opportunities link, is very important. This does lay out the timeline for submitting your application and all the pieces along the way. So I did see a question that was submitted even before the webinar started. I'm hoping that this slide will answer your question. The DOE issues very specific topics that are aligned with its mission. So our topics are generally not very broad. You do need to be a good fit with our topics to have a good chance of receiving an award. So everybody does generally think about the Department of Energy as providing leadership in clean energy technologies. So here, I'm not going to go over all these topics, but here's an sampling of the topics that we release in this area. Many of these topics come out during release 2. But did you know that the DOE mission includes leadership in basic energy and energy sciences? So we issue all these topics around improving accelerator technology and atmospheric modeling, neutron and X-ray electron detection technologies, instrumentation and detectors. And finally, did you know that the third area of the DOE mission is enhancement of nuclear security? So we do release topics in the areas of nuclear nonproliferation, as well as topics in the area of keeping the DOE's nuclear weapons waste sites around the country, continuing with remediation of those sites, and keeping the waste secure. So we have even though we have specific topics, I just want to emphasize that we have a very broad array of topics that we release. How does our funding work? Again, assuming that this cohort is really interested in how do you get into the program with the Phase 1 grant. We have 2 opportunities to apply for our Phase 1 grant per year. These are focused and mission aligned. You do have to provide a letter of intent. So if you did not submit a letter of intent for this release 1, you are not eligible to submit an application, but you can look towards the November release. The Phase 1 grants are a maximum of $200,000 or $250,000 over a 6 to 12 month duration. That is up to you. How long do you think that you need to do your feasibility study? The Phase 1 grant application is proving the feasibility of your idea. It's a concept evaluation. You don't have to have much done in the way of your technology. You don't have to have a prototype or demonstration. This is a feasibility evaluation study. We do issue about 350 to 400 Phase 1 awards per year between the 2 solicitations. About 40% of our Phase 1 applicants go on to receive a Phase 2 award, which is 1.1 to 1.6 million over a 2-year period. There are follow-on Phase 2 grants as well. If you need more time to conduct your research and development, your research and development is going well, but you need you need to conduct more research. We understand that research and development, there's detours and forks in the road and that type of thing. Or do you need more time to execute your commercialization plan? So you can receive funding from the Department of Energy for up to 7 or 8 years to execute and plan your commercialization before you launch yourself into the marketplace. And this is just the timeline. I won't spend too much time on this slide. We are sort of here between LOI and when the applications are due in the current Phase 1 solicitation. Once the applications are due, within 90 days, you will be notified if you receive if you are going to receive an award. And then at that time, you go into a negotiation process with our Office of Contracts and work on the details of your award. And then you will start your budget. I talked about our funding opportunities page. It's a very important page. It has the topics document. This is the document that you go to and you find out if your research and development is a good fit with one of the topics in this document. You go to the topics document, look through the table of contents, also conduct a keyword search as well. Use a number of keywords that describe the area of research and development that you're working on, and see if you can solve one of these problems that are in the topics document with your research and development, with the technology you're working on. The FOA, the funding opportunity, which tells you how to apply for a grant, is released as well. And then there are webinars associated with the topics document in which you can ask questions to the technical topics managers about what they're looking for. And then there's also a FOA webinar in which we describe the application process. These webinars are also recorded, so if you miss them, you can go back and view them. Letter of intent due date, very important. We do provide feedback on the letter of intent. If your letter of intent is non-responsive, you will receive an email saying that it was non-responsive, and you will receive some review information on why it was non-responsive. If you do receive that feedback, you can still submit an application, but you do want to really consider if you need to change your approach, or maybe you are not a good fit and maybe you shouldn't go through with the application process. You need to do a little bit of hard thinking in that case about whether or not you want to submit an application. So this is an important page to know about the process. Not only do we offer grants, but we do offer a number of application assistance resources that are shown on this page. For first-time DOE, SBIR, STTR applications, we have an application assistance program. We call it our Phase 0 program. You will, if you are accepted into the program, you will receive a one-on-one coach, and they will help you. They are experts in our application process, and they will walk you through the application process. I talked about the recorded webinars. We have an online center, and it has different videos and PDFs for different parts of the application process, such as submitting your letter of intent, what are the different registrations that are required, how to prepare your budget, how to prepare your project narrative, etc. So this is a good resource. And if you're interested in collaborating with the National Lab, I know Techstars was probably going to help you with a lot of this partnering work as well, too, which is great. We do also have a resource that talks about national labs, the areas that they're working in, and some contacts as well, too. We do offer a weekly Q&A webinars for those applicants that are in the pipeline, i.e. if you've submitted a letter of intent, you are invited to application process webinars. Please email us with any questions. We pride ourselves on being very responsive to the questions that we get, and we will return your email. In addition, please join our mailing list by signing up on our homepage, and you can also follow us on Twitter. I'll do a little time check. Oh, I'm doing good with time. Again, I'll just have a slide here on the Phase 0 Application Assistance Program. If you feel you want help and we want to receive a one-on-one coach, you can go to the Apply portal that the link is shown here. And it's not a detailed application. It's just a couple of web pages, and you put in information. You have to know what topic and subtopic you're applying to, and you have to know what you're planning on doing. You are the expert in your technology. You really have to know what it is you're planning on doing. That is not what the Phase 0 program is about. But if you do fill out the forms, you will be contacted by our contractor. The company is Dawnbreaker. You will have a phone interview, and they will decide if you are applicable to the program, if you're eligible to the program, and that your idea is aligned well enough with the program. What are the services that you'll receive during the Phase 0 program? If you get in early enough, they will help you with your letter of intent. They will also help you with the not so fun 5 registrations that are required. You have to become registered on 5 different sites as part of the application process. And please note that the registrations can take up to 6 weeks. Typically they won't, but you don't really want to find out, and you don't want to not be able to submit your application because your registrations are not complete. So start early with your registrations. They will help you with your proposal preparation. They will review your proposal and provide feedback. Additionally, they help you with some market research. That there is a small section on for the phase 1 application on the commercialization plan. The phase 2 application has a much more detailed requirements for a commercialization plan, because you really do, during the phase 2 process, need to be really pivoting towards what your commercialization plan is. But even during the phase 1 application, you really do need to start thinking about who your customers are and how you're going to market your technology. And the Dawnbreaker consultants can help you with this. In addition to these core services, you can, depending on how much resources that you are utilizing in the core service, you can pick 1 or 2 of these optional services as well. I do want to mention that we are just in the very early stages of starting up a partnering site. We have a new person in our office, Carol Rabke. You can reach out to her by email if you have any partnering questions. She was going to attend today, but she had a conflict. So she does want people to reach out to her if you have questions about partners. So we're starting a partnering site. It's not going to be available till a year from now. But she's, again, available in the meantime to help you. Do you need a testing lab to help you with your research and development? Is there a national lab that could help you with partnering? And then as you move through the commercialization pipeline, you know, the partnering programs intended to connect you with potential investors as well, too. So at the different technology development stages, there are different partners that you need, but she is there to help both applicants and awardees with their needs. A little bit about the topics. I think I've emphasized that we have very specific topics. Here's an example of a topic on polymer upcycling. A couple of things to really pay close attention to. Maximum phase 1 award amount is listed here with each. It's specific to the topic. Don't ask for more money in your grant than this award amount, because that is one of the ways in which you can have your proposal administratively declined without review. So it doesn't matter how good your proposal is. If you ask for more money than the maximum award amount, your proposal will sadly be not reviewed. If you're interested in the STTR program, make sure that that it is accepting STTR applications as well, too. Read the topic very carefully. Read the subtopic very carefully as well, too. You can reach out to the contact point throughout the process, from the time the topics document comes out until the time you submit your application. You may reach out to the topic manager. We ask that you keep your questions to the topic manager very focused, and really you should not send an email trying to sell your technology. That's what the application is for. Your questions should be really limited to understanding what it is that they are looking for. Please give the topic manager plenty of time to respond to your email. They're busy people. They will, in general, respond. Many of them are very responsive to the emails. However, they're not in our office, and we have limited control about when they respond and how they respond to your emails. At any rate, we highly recommend that you reach out to them with questions. Please get to know this area. There are references at the end of a topic. Read all those references, become familiar with them. You are expected to be an expert in the technology. You are expected to know the state of the art of the technology, what's out there, why what you're offering is new, and what what the competitors are offering as well, too. This is a common question, is what are the pitfalls of the application? One of the most important thing is that you really fully read the funding opportunity announcement so that you don't make mistakes in your application. Many of these items here, not including the required documents, budget justification issues, really come about by not fully reading the FOA. So you're going to have to spend time with the FOA. The FOA is an 80-page document. Please assign someone within your company to become very familiar with the FOA. Again, I think I've emphasized this already. You do need to be responsive to the subtopic. Please address the subtopic in your application and why your technology is addressing what the subtopic is looking for. I have a number of other items listed here as well, too, that are pitfalls. What about the application review process? What does that look like? Well, for the phase 1 application, we have 3 external peer reviewers. They are experts in the technology field, and they conduct a technical review of your application. What are the review criteria? Well, there are 3 main review criteria. One of them is, what is the strength of the scientific technical approach? How good is your approach? Remember, phase 1 is a feasibility evaluation. So you are trying to come up with a work plan that will prove whether your idea is feasible or not. What is the ability of your team to execute the plan that you have proposed? You need to round out your team. You need to make sure you have the right team members, whether that means finding a consultant, a subcontractor, such as a national lab, a university, a test lab, or a consultant. You should round out your team so that you have the right people on your team. And that doesn't mean adding someone who has a big name in the field that isn't really necessarily going to work on the project. These are going to be the people who are really going to be working on the project and helping you with your feasibility evaluation. And finally, what is the potential impact of your technology in the particular field you are working on? So those are the 3 review criteria, and you need to keep those in mind as you develop your application. We get a lot of high quality applications. What we do at the end of that process is we rank all of the applications, and awards are based on available funding. With each cycle, there are high quality applications that do not get funded. It is only the most highly ranked applications because we are limited. We have a set aside, we have a certain amount of money for this program, and we're just kind of limited to that amount of money, which for the DOE is $300 million a year, in excess of $300 million a year. We have programs for awardees too. We have what's known as the Technical and Businesses Assisted Program. For phase 1, you can, if you want to receive technical and business assistance, you can, 1, select your own vendor and include additional funding above the max award amount. For phase 1, you can include $6,500 of additional funding for this assistance. So for example, if the limit is $250,000 for your subtopic, your application would be $256,500. If you do not include that additional funding and you receive an award, you're automatically eligible to use our vendor who is LARDA, and you can receive up to $6,500 in assistance in the areas shown here in the bullets. And if it's a phase 2 award, you are eligible in the same way to use your own vendor, put it in the proposal, or to use LARDA for up to $50,000 of commercialization and business assistance. Time for water. Another awardee program we have is the Energy I-Corps for phase 1 awardees. It was piloted just last year, but very successful and expanded in 2021. It's a 2-month training. There's no cost to participants, although they do donate their time. And of course, it's been virtual of late. But prior, the ultimate goal is for it to be in person. It is a customer discovery process. You go and you are trained in the customer discovery process. And then after the training occurs, you will then take 2 months to execute your customer discovery process, in which you are you interview up to 30 customers, potential customers for your technology. And then you go back at the end and you report on what you've learned about your customers. So this is a resource that's available to you as an awardee. So what I just want to emphasize here is that we do provide the grants. I've talked about the grants. We do offer a lot of other support programs along the path to commercialization. I talked a lot about the application resources. I've spoken about our awardee resources. I haven't spoken about all of them. There's a limited time here for me to talk about our program. There's a lot of moving parts. Take advantage of our application assistance programs if you decide to go forward with an application. Just to kind of jazz you all up, I'm going to talk about a few success stories. This is MDI. They have received multiple Phase 2 SBIR, DoE SBIR awards during 2011, and throughout the years have led to sales exceeding $1 million with more development in the pipeline. Their technology is a very interesting system of levitation forces, which allow liquids to float in a room or a space, and that allows materials investigation in a containerless environment. So very cool, high-tech technology for studying materials properties at very, at the atomic scale. This company, they've only been around for 5 years. They were founded by 3 Stanford grad students. Now they have 40 employees. They were ELPIS 12. They've changed the name of their company to 12. And what they do is they use it's green hydrocarbon based valuable chemicals. So that what they use is they use renewable electricity, they use water, and then they have a waste stream of industry carbon dioxide, and they you have a catalytic system which causes the water and the CO2 to react, and they produce hydrocarbons from waste CO2 and water. They've been very successful. They've leveraged our SBIR program into at this point, it's much more than 19 million in venture capital. And then here's a solar software story. It's a company that developed a platform which allows utilities, energy retailers, and solar developers to talk to each other and create a community solar platform. And community solar, of course, is when you purchase solar panels. They are not locally based at your home. They are based within your community. And so this is the software program that really allows that community solar to happen. Again, they have achieved over $5 million in sales during the last couple of years. Okay, I spoke about this at the beginning, but I do want to mention the SBIR.gov site. There are many resources there on navigating the other federal SBIR, STTR programs. So in the event that you don't find what you need at DOE, please go look at these other agencies. And thank you very much for your time. How did I do? I think I did pretty well with timing. A few reminders here are on the screen, and I'm really happy to talk to you all now and answer your questions.
Thanks so much, Eileen. That was amazing. A lot of information in a very short time. You nailed it. So I see we have a ton of questions, and
Great.
They're all really valuable questions that I think everyone will benefit from hearing. I will ask them, but before I do, I wanted to introduce another person that we've pulled up, my former colleague and a friend, Jasmine Bridges, who is a commercialization executive at the Office of Technology Transitions at the Department of Energy. I'm going to let Jasmine give a quick intro and hello and share some background on what she's working on within the SBIR OTT space.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Hey,
Yeah.
Jasmine.
Okay, great. Hi, Eileen. Tricia, thanks so much for the introduction. As Tricia mentioned, I'm a commercialization executive in the Office of Technology Transitions, and we're specifically focused on commercializing technology and being an entry point for the Department of Energy in general. My role is to bring my technical expertise and my professional background and really query a lot of the stakeholders of the SBIR and STTR program to develop recommendations to optimize the SBIR program. So as you all have heard, Eileen has told you about this amazing program with a lot of funding. And so we're also taking the time to look at opportunities to really optimize it and improve it even more so that it can serve our constituency even better. And I actually only have one slide to show. Let's see if I can share my screen here, because oftentimes people are not fully aware of the statutory goals of the program. And so one thing that I've been looking at, I've been looking at the program in general, but one thing that certainly comes to mind as an opportunity is around ensuring that participation is diverse. And so I just want to share this slide so that everyone is aware of the statutory goals of the program. And as Eileen said, it's to utilize small businesses for federal R&D, to stimulate and commercialize federal R&D funded innovation. So there certainly is a commercialization focus. And then to foster and encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship by women and socially economically disadvantaged individuals. And then specifically for the STTR program, it's to foster technology transfer. And as Eileen said, to work with the research institutions, including the national labs. And so this is something I really want to highlight because oftentimes there really feels to be a barrier to entry for diverse participation, particularly for women and socially economically disadvantaged people or people of color, and also for first-time applicants. So I want to encourage you all to apply to the program. Sometimes applicants, and particularly first-time applicants, will think this program is not for me, I'm not ready. If you have R&D, you are ready. If you have questions, please ask those questions, as Eileen said, to reach out to program managers and really ask the questions. The program is accessible, it's for you, and there are resources, as Eileen said, the Dawnbreaker Phase 0 program to support those first-time participants, which oftentimes are women and socially economically disadvantaged people. So I want to be sure that everyone is very aware of the statutory goals regarding diversity and commercialization. And again, we're looking forward to, I'm actually, like I said, I'm in the Office of Technology Transitions and not the SBIR office. So Eileen really is the best point of contact for questions. And as I said, I'm looking at optimization opportunities, and diversity is certainly one of them. So want to just be sure that everyone is very aware that this program is for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jasmine. And I think that really echoes and actually brings together what we're trying to do at Techstars Industries of the Future, that this is the first program for Techstars that's really focused on a partnership with essentially the federal government through the national lab. We want to support those scientists who are building breakthrough novel technologies. We want to find diverse applicants. As a Latina who has started companies, I've generally been the only person in the room as a woman and a brown founder. So it's extremely important to me to make sure we support and find the founders who are generally operating in silos. So I'm glad that the SBIR, STTR programs are looking at that specifically. And I'm so thankful for you both to be here to share your knowledge and expertise. It's been truly invaluable. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of all these participants, but let's open it up for questions because I know there's a lot. So I'm going to start throwing some out there, and Eileen, Jasmine, you guys can jump in. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that to Jasmine's point, and thank you, Jasmine, for sharing your information. But I want to say that there is people have the idea that you have to be like, sort of connected in some way to receive an SBIR grant, but that is not the case. This is a an equitable program. It's based on the review. It's based on the goodness of the fit with the topic and your technology. But we do, and people do get better at writing SBIR applications. I do want to say that if you apply and you don't get it, please don't give up. But typically 25% of our phase one awardees are first-time applicants. So that's a pretty good number. And oftentimes it takes several tries for people to become awarded. And so I don't want you to give up if you don't get an award the first time.
Awesome. And, one question that has popped up a few times that I think a lot of companies that I've been engaging with at Techstars are asking is, for SBIR, STTR, are funds solely for US-based startups? Do all the founders have to be American citizens? Does it have to be a US incorporated company, or can any of the technology be developed outside of the US? How does that apply to SBIR?
So there are rules about ownership. It has to be more than 50% owned by US citizens or US permanent residents, people with permission to work in the United States. You don't have to be a citizen. The research and development must also be conducted in the United States, unless there's some real extenuating circumstance and you submit some type of justification, like this particular research is only available, in this location, in this other country. But because it is a domestic program, it is for domestic R&D. Did I answer all the questions? It seems like there were a few there.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think that answers it. Another question is, and Eileen, you'll probably be able to answer this, is what types of specific funding opportunities have waivers for the limit of the phase one grant amount? In other words, where the phase one basic amount can be exceeded. I'm not sure if you answered that before or if that makes sense to you.
There are some opportunities for larger, it sounds like that they're asking about a larger phase one grant. And there are some opportunities that I understand because the research is just kind of expensive, right? And there are opportunities for larger phase one grants, but I'm going to ask that person to send an email to the email address with a little bit more specific about what they're working on. And then we could kind of figure out if there's, if it's applicable. But I do know there's some opportunities for larger phase one grants, but it's a very, very case by case basis.
Mm-hmm. I can speak a little bit to that. That actually applies mostly to NSF also. NSF has more waivers. I'm not sure what the topic areas are or if topic areas apply, but NSF does have those waivers. Or I should say expanded funding opportunities.
Okay. And then in the chat, Britt actually asked a longer question. So other agencies have seemingly changed their rank criteria over the years, some in testing the entrepreneur group with no revenue for one solicitation round, and most others being ranked by revenue. I've been told by SBIR contractor companies that their submissions will not consideration unless the company exceeds $500,000 in revenue. What recommendations do you have in regard to the DOE's consideration criteria to make the ranked list?
Well, I can't speak for other agencies, but I did go over what the review criteria for our applications are, and that there are not revenue requirements. We're interested in funding early stage ideas. If you have a good idea, if you are qualified to carry out your research and development, those are the qualifications that you need to submit an application. Now, as you go down the road, you've received a number of phase two awards. There are some requirements. If you received a lot of phase two awards and have nothing in terms of commercialization to show for that, then there starts to become some limitations where you have to take a break from grants. You can't apply for additional grants, but there are not revenue criteria for phase one application.
Okay. And then there are two questions that focus more on the area of interest. So would a green energy storage system be something of interest? And another group asked about whether deep tech and new tech ideas would qualify. So, Eileen, you had mentioned that DOE's SBIR is very specific, and you push out FOIAs that are specific based on the office's request. So it sounds like, deep tech is a broad term, as well as green energy storage is still pretty broad. So it sounds like each office, when there's a FOIA that comes out, will ask for very specific things in regards to SBIR funding.
That's right. What you need to do, well, I think I mentioned before the release 2 that's coming out in November, it has a lot more of applied technologies, like specific technologies for improving heat pumps, or improving building integrated photovoltaics, or carbon capture technology improvements. So you all are developing some type of technology, and maybe you can even look at these topics and say, well, I can change my focus a little bit to solve this problem. So that's the kind of thinking that you need to do as you kind of scroll through the topics to see, there might be a perfect fit for you, but there also might be a way you take what your area of expertise is and solve the particular problem at hand. And finally, I want to mention that in the topics, there are subtopics, and sometimes the subtopics are other, and some of those are more general. Some of those could be, to sort of just solve the problem of improving, very general, like, improving solar roof tiles. Just show us, we're interested in really any technology that improves solar roof tiles, rather than saying like a very specific, type of tile or application or something like that. So there are some like broader topics as well, and those are opportunities to make a good match.
Okay, great. So we don't have any more questions. Eileen, are there specific questions that come from the top of your mind that might that are common things that people are asking, or maybe hide? Well, in the meantime, I wanted to emphasize again for everyone who's on the call the key dates for the Techstars program, and I do really want to emphasize that this program is very different than other Techstars programs. So we are looking at supporting and backing scientists, technologists, founders who are building novel technologies. And this program enables you to access Oak Ridge National Lab, Tennessee Valley Authority, and the University of Tennessee. These 3 organizations in Tennessee came together because they saw the assets that they have in the region are invaluable, and that they should be working closer with scientists that come out of the labs or the universities, or individuals who are building these new technologies. So it really is an incredible opportunity to work alongside these partners and find your way into the Department of Energy, because the National Lab is obviously backed and managed by the Department of Energy. So all of these things that Eileen and Jasmine have been speaking about are things that we will dig into deeply during the Techstars program. And I consider SBIR, STTR, DOE our close partners, especially because I've worked with these individuals in the past. But in terms of additional questions, Eileen, Hyder, are there other things that, common questions that people might be asking when they're thinking about SBIR, STTR, and applying?
I kind of covered, I think, a lot of the main questions. I just want to encourage people to ask for help, send us questions. If you're going through the application process, jump on our Q&A webinar. We answer all of the questions. And we do really welcome applications from underrepresented groups. If you have any opportunities for us to do outreach with underrepresented groups, we are always interested in elevating awareness to the SBIR program. And I also just want to say, take advantage of our Phase 0 program as well. So read the FOA, be ready to spend real time on this application. It takes, I think what I've heard is 150 hours to submit, to prepare an application. I don't want to scare people, but you can break it up. You know, you have like 3 months to do it. You could maybe have a team involved. There's ways to get it done and bite it off a little at a time. Don't wait until the last minute. Don't wait until the last minute to submit your application, because then that's when your computer is going to like freeze up. So, you know, just be prepared, create your checklist, create your like work plan, what you're going to get done each week, and reach out to us with questions.
Yeah, and take advantage of all the resources that SBIR, STTR is offering. A lot of companies who have received phase 1 and phase 2 funding have used consultants, have engaged with companies who already received funding to understand the process, have worked with SBIR to understand how to do it the right way. So this webinar was the first opportunity for you to learn. Take advantage of what Eileen and Jasmine have said. It's your job to hustle and get that money and keep building, and Techstars is here to support you. We want to hear from all of you and learn about what you're building, and whether you want to go through Techstars or not, Hyder and I are here to support you. We want to keep expanding the deep tech space and be a support system for all the great technologists and scientists and founders out there. So please use us as much as you need. Jasmine, before we head out, did you have any closing comments?
Someone asked about the email address, and so I just dropped the SBIR STTR email address in the chat. Eileen, if you wouldn't mind verifying that that's the correct one for folks to
I did it as well. We did it at exactly the same time.
Okay.
And I also put my email address in. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to engage.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time. This was extremely informative. I'm hoping it will be the first of more webinars to come so we can keep supporting the community. Everyone who has joined from all parts of the world, thank you so much for being here. Reach out to us, to Eileen and Jasmine, if you have questions. Sign up for our office hours if you're interested in the Techstars program. We're here to support and keep building and keep changing the world. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.